The Nullarbor Plain, vast, flat, lonely, a place rarely disturbed by anything, except for legends and myths, and this extraordinary railway line. Hi, I'm Scott McGregor, and welcome to the West.
The Transcontinental Railway runs from the east coast to the west coast. This is the line that's going to take me to Perth.
This is also the line that can boast the longest straight stretch of track in the world, from Aldeer to just past Loongana. 303 miles without the hint of a curve. I'm continuing my train journey from the east on the Indian Pacific, on into Western Australia and some fabulous railway adventures. Journeys that'll take me through the Kalgoorlie Goldfields, the southern Jarrah forests, and up into the iron-rich Hamersley Ranges, home to one of the longest trains in the world. This means that in a state of nearly 1 million square miles and taking up almost 1/3 of the continent, we've got a lot of ground to cover, so we better get on with it. The guidebook on the train tells me that the Nullarbor is 4 times the size of Belgium. Whatever. It's big and as flat as a billiard table.
What you've got to appreciate is how much of it looks like this.
It's one of the few places where you can stand in one spot and see the curvature of the Earth. It stands to reason that any kind of human habitation out here is a welcome sight. And there's some coming up. Cook, one of the most remote towns on the planet. Cook's sole reason for existence is to service the railway. Normally, passengers on the Indian Pacific would only get a fleeting visit to Cook when the train stops here for water. But I love railway towns, and I can't resist the urge to jump train for a day and have a sniff around.
Oh, Kelly.
Hope you had a good trip.
Oh, it was excellent. Thanks for everything.
Not a
Thanks for
problem.
looking after me. I particularly enjoyed breakfast over the desert this morning. That was great.
That's good.
I heard that the place was in the process of being closed down as a town, so I was curious to just see what was left. Once Cook boasted a population of 90 people. Now the permanent population is down to 3. Bruce, his wife Michelle, and their baby.
What do you mean, this is it?
This is it, mate. The total inhabitants.
Plus 11 very energetic guard dogs who like to run around a lot. And a bemused kangaroo, who generally speaking prefers to remain above the noise and the excitement.
So you work for the railways?
We do, mate. Yeah, we're the caretakers of Cook. Yep.
The caretakers of Cook?
Yep.
Gee, it's like meeting the mayor and mayoress of the town, I suppose. So when the train pulls in, how many people get off?
Well, you get, about 400, up to 400. That's when the wildflowers are on. It's an extra long train then.
And they all get off and have a look around?
They're all off, mate. Yep. There's sometimes they get a couple of hours here at least.
Really? Yeah.
Going round and round.
So they've got a couple of hours and then they're all back on the train again?
Yep.
And you're back to your peace and quiet?
Yep. Back to until the next Indian Pacific.
Cook was built in a time when trains depended on it for fuel, water and food. Now, with the many advances in railway technology, places like Cook are no longer required. The school, the hospital, the nurses' residence, all due for demolition. Recently, the track workers moved out, but changeover drivers still rest here occasionally, at the railway barracks, which is where I'm camped for the night. In fact, although practically a ghost town now, as far as the line's concerned, Cook is still busy. Up to 53 trains a week pass through here.
So there's still quite a few people coming and going from the place.
Wednesday and Saturday night, it's full on.
So what do we do for fun here? What do we get up to?
There's golf.
Golf! I think he's got me in now.
Monday and Friday, then you do.
Now, don't get too excited. This course is no St Andrews.
So, Bruce, you've rounded up a couple of fellow players here.
Yeah, mate, we've got a train driver and a shunter.
Oh, all right, the real thing. Ooh, beauty.
Ah, good shot.
Nice.
Yeah, you played this game before, huh?
Yeah, it gets a bit lonesome out here.
Does it? Yeah.
Jason the shunter is out here on a 2-week stint.
2 weeks?
Yep,
It's a fair while to be out here.
it is.
What do you do with yourself?
Get pretty good at golf.
Do you? No wonder you're such a good swing.
Ain't as good as a course. That's your ball anyway, I think.
No.
I think so.
This is my ball. A gruelling 6 holes is this. Sure, it's pretty flat, and the water traps don't often come into play, but the sand is unforgiving.
As the game drew to a close, I couldn't help wondering if Bruce's caretaking responsibilities also included the maintenance of the golf course.
So are you the greenkeeper, Bruce? I must ask.
Well, not lately.
Not likely. What's greenkeeping consist of here on this course?
You wait until summer and all the grass falls out and there's no green to keep.
Right.
Cook's the sort of place that you'd visit only once in a lifetime, and I've certainly made the most of my overnight stay. I've no worries about Bruce and Michelle. They're pretty resourceful, as this makeshift railway refreshment room that Michelle sets up when the train pulls in testifies. The Indian Pacific will continue to stop here, but as a permanent town, it's a fast-fading place of wonderful railway memories.
Carsey, this is me.
Yeah, hi.
G'day. How are you?
Good, thanks. My name's Tennille.
Oh, hi, Tennille.
I had a great time, met some wonderful people, and satisfied my long-standing fascination for railway towns. They're quirky, and I love that about them. But with everybody leaving town, there's only one thing that still worries me.
I wonder who's going to look after the golf course.
West Australians have always been an independent bunch. Even at the Federation of Australia back in 1901, they were less than enthusiastic about joining up with the other states. But the promise of this railway line went a long way to convincing them that it was a good idea. At the time, there was a rail network of sorts around the country, even though it was a hopeless tangle of different gauge tracks. But that one daunting gap in the middle of the continent between Port Augusta and Kalgoorlie was yet to be conquered. Work began in 1912 when 2 crews set out, one from Kalgoorlie in the west and the other from Port Augusta in the east. Over 3,000 workers battled incredibly harsh conditions, laying an estimated 90,000 sleepers as they pushed the line forward. On October the 17th, 1917, in a remarkable feat of surveying and engineering, the 2 construction teams met at Uldir, 683 miles east of Kalgoorlie. At last, the line across the Nullarbor and the transcontinental rail link was built. Next stop on the line, Kalgoorlie, Australia's El Dorado. Kalgoorlie as a gold mining town was once more important to the West Australian economy than Perth. It looks pretty civilised now, but once the city was about as close as you could get to a Wild West town. Gold was found here in 1892. By the late 1890s, upwards of 1,400 miners were arriving here every week. The rush was on. One such budding millionaire was Herbert Hoover. In 1929, he became the 31st President of the United States. Before that, though, he was a mine manager here in Kalgoorlie. He made quite a name for himself while he was here, not only as a mine manager, but also as a gentleman with a keen eye for the ladies. He was a familiar face at one of the local watering holes, where there's an interesting testament to his patronage.
This magnificent mirror was a gift from Herbert Hoover to the Palace Hotel. He had it shipped out from America. It was in appreciation for a friendship he had here with a barmaid. Mighty fine friendship, I'd say.
Perhaps by making his gift, Herbert was ensuring that tales of his fun and games down under didn't come back to haunt him while he was in the White House. One game Herbert Hoover would have seen, and probably played while he was here, is two-up. Wherever there's gold, there's gambling, and the two-up school in Cal is famous. This would have to be one of the simplest ways in the world to lose your money. Cash changes hand every time two heads or two tails lands on the asphalt circle. Everyone's welcome, with the spinner trying to throw two heads every time. Come in, spinner! Oh.
Once gold was discovered in Kalgoorlie, two things were essential for its survival: fuel and water. The whole area around Cal used to be forested. But as the mines grew, so did the demand for timber. The whole place was cleared, most of it ending up in the steam engines that ran the place.
The timber companies found themselves going further and further out for the wood. The quickest way to do it was by train. So they built a network of railway tracks that spread out like a giant cobweb, up to 74 miles out from Cal. The old formations that the tracks used to lay on are still here. It's fascinating to walk along them, look at the relics left behind, and imagine the old steam trains, their trucks loaded to the top, heading back to town. Up to 2,500 tonnes of wood could be delivered back to Cal daily on these little trains. Hundreds of thousands of tonnes altogether. It wasn't long before the wood ran out and the trains disappeared completely. There's a bit of Kalgoorlie's rail history that's still running though. And if you think they run on a loose bush timetable, you're wrong. Quick!
What, do you think they'd leave you behind?
Oh, well, you never know.
We're travelling on what's left of the old Kalgoorlie Boulder loop line. And as it's turned out, I needn't have hurried. In the old days, when there were 1,200 mining companies working the Golden Mile, this was the way everyone got around. The train was the major urban link between Kalgoorlie, Boulder and the mines. Sadly, today the old loop line finds itself in reduced circumstances. Progress and the never-ending quest to find more gold has relegated the loop line to being a train to nowhere, and you'll soon see why. It's not exactly the fastest train in the world either.
I could walk faster than this.
End of the line. Full stop. Why? because of the massive super pit, which has replaced the 1,200 original mines on the Golden Mile. It's gobbling up everything, including the loop line. As the pit gets bigger, so the train's journey gets shorter. History slowly being eaten away. There's no alternative but to turn around and head straight back home again. There's probably some good news on the horizon for the old loop line though. Negotiations are underway to build another track, one that won't get swallowed up by the giant super pit. We hope. Kalgoorlie to Perth, 369 miles to the end of the transcontinental line, and my journey across the nation. This was the scene on February the 23rd, 1970, when the first train to travel all the way on the same size gauge pulled in from Sydney. It was only 53 years after the line was first connected in 1917. Not bad as far as building the national rail network went. Perth and its surroundings have changed a bit since then. I'm hanging around Perth because this evening I'm booked on a train with a real difference. Allow me to set the scene. We catch the train at the Perth terminal. We're headed for a little town called 2J, about 62 miles northeast of Perth. And at the next stop, in Perth's outer suburbs, we're going to be picking up a wedding party.
Now, what have we got? We've got a rundown here, haven't we, of what's going to happen? We're going to a wedding.
Yes, apparently so.
So, what is it about this trip? Well, we're on a murder mystery train, full of petty jealousy, passion, intrigue, and violence. All the ingredients for a classic whodunit, and a good night out as well.
And exactly what is the photographer up to?
Come on, my darling, throw it.
2, 3.
Haha, the bridal party. Now, of course, they're actors playing the roles, but as the evening progresses, you'll be hard-pressed separating the truth from the fiction.
The news is, fellas, that the garter is about there. The best taker wins the garter. 1, 2, 3. In you go.
Are we going to get on the train or aren't we?
Wait on, she's a bit brittle, isn't she?
Everyone will come through.
The bridal party mingle with us, the paying guests. Our job now is to listen for clues and try and work out who's going to be murdered and who did it. This is a very crucial time. And all the while, the Perth suburbs disappear behind us.
So, somebody from the wedding party?
That's right.
And who are you?
I'm the mother of the bride.
Mother of the bride. Nice to meet you.
Lovely to meet you too.
All right.
I'm the bride's stepfather.
The bride's stepfather.
Stepfather, how are you?
Sorry, what's your name, sir?
My name's Peter McFarlane.
Peter McFarlane. Aha, the plot thickens. He wasn't invited to the wedding ceremony, but he's here.
God, is that your son there?
Yes, dear.
The recalcitrant brother of the bride.
I don't want him near me, dear. I don't want him near me.
You wouldn't want me near you.
There's no love lost between him and the stepfather. I'm really into this. He's too obvious. Cross him off the list.
How long has she been with this other man that she's with?
Ah, the minister. I wonder what he's got to say.
Only a few years, but I've really at a loss as to why she left her first husband.
Now that's interesting. Let's have another listen to what he just said.
Mark, only a few years, but I really had a loss as to why she left her first husband.
The first husband here today?
Yes, yes,
And things are starting to really hot up here.
yes.
Where's my wife? My wife, I've lost her, that little son of hers. It's taken off.
Surprised at the way you treat your wife, sir.
I want my wife back. Can you keep him away from me, please?
You are a wuss.
Just keep him away. I'm not a
Now
wuss,
watch
sir.
this.
Every
Some of the
time.
paying guests are getting even more involved.
You have deserved it.
Womanizer!
I am not.
And you're a drunk. You are a drunk.
Womanizer? Drunk? Was that on the clue sheet? So the old boy's partial to a bit of hanky-panky, is he? Next, it's into the 2J hall for the reception.
No, there's something going on. There is something going on with Nada and the stepfather. Richard!
Nada and the stepfather? Crikey, I hadn't figured on that one.
You promised, Richard. I promise. You promised. Thank you.
At last, all the usual suspects gathered in one room. Now we can get a decent look at them.
The groom, I would say to him, follow your heart and don't listen to what anybody else says about your beautiful bride, because she is the best woman in the world.
Thank you, Richard. The best man. This is the final ceremony, ladies and...
I don't know. Some families just don't know how to behave in public, do they? The stepfather. Well, it was obvious, wasn't it? He had it coming to him. Didn't he?
That's about as messy as it gets.
And who did it? Was it the son? Was it the groom? Was it the mum? Was it the prickly aunt? She's capable of anything, I reckon. Maybe it was the photographer. Actually, I'm sworn to secrecy and I can't tell you. But if you really want to find out who did it, you'll have to join the next murder mystery train to 2J, won't you? Oh, all right, the butler did it. But wait on, he's still back on the train. This is the Australind. She's taking us about 54 miles south of Perth to a place called Pinjarra, the home of the Hotham Valley Tourist Railway. It's an excellent setup with some of the country's great steam locos.
Hey, here we are, into the heart of steam country.
The Hotham Valley are an interesting outfit. They've been going for about 23 years, and they operate trains all over the West Rail system. As a matter of fact, the murder mystery train last night was one of theirs. Now, the reason I'm here is to ride the steam locos up the Darling Ranges to the old timber town of Dwellingup. Funny thing though, when I rang them to let them know I was coming, I got the strangest reply. Great, they said. You'll come in handy. Sounds like they're going to put me to work. Oh well, as you know, I don't mind helping out a bit here and there. Oh, I might have spoken too soon. By the look of the timetable, I'm going to be busy.
Number 1, Pinjarra departs 7:55. Well, that's gone. 9:05 Armidale, 9:25 the Loop runaround. Then we've got the Armidale departing at 10:15 to Madjong. That gets into Dwellingup at 12. Then we've got Dwellingup departure at 14:45. Then finally we've got Armidale departure 17:40. There are trains everywhere today.
Next assignment, clean out the firebox on the Mariner.
So you just dropped the fire here, do you, mate?
Yeah, we cleaned the fire out here, Scott, yeah.
Righto.
Ah, well, this'll be fun. It is steam after all, and there's always the night time for sleeping.
A bit stiff too, isn't she? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that'll do
It's loosening up a bit now. Oh, yes, that's very good.
This is Clary, by the way, one of Hotham's dedicated volunteer drivers.
Just pull that lever up, Scott. Pull the lever, yeah. Pull the lever right up and the ash will fall out. Yeah.
I think we've emptied it, Clary.
That's very good.
Nothing ever seems to worry old steam train drivers, does it? Next job, prepare the Marron up for the 10:15 to Dwelling Up. Excellent.
Coming with you, Clary.
Are you?
Yep.
On to Dwelling Up. Open up that regulator, Clary, and let her rip. The line to Dwelling Up and beyond was opened in 1910 to service the little timber towns of the Darling Range. We're talking about Cowrie and Jarrah timber country here. Dwelling Up is just under 9 miles away from Pinjarra, up Western Australia's steepest and most spectacular section of railway. It's a stiff 1 in 30 grade up the escarpment. That's quite a climb, which calls for double heading. That's 2 locos hooked together. You can hear them working now, and they're not the only ones. These are West Australian W-class mountain-type locomotives. They're perfect for this type of work because they're relatively light and they can handle the tight curves on a line like this. Beautiful, aren't they? Now you can see why I was so keen to make this trip. Dwelling Up was once a busy centre for the thriving timber industry. Nowadays, instead of being a mill town, it's the setting out point for showing off the magnificent forest. Clary told me I was rostered on the Etmelin Forest Diner, but I had no idea what job they had in mind for me.
Welcome to the Hotham Valley, allow me.
From fireman to waiter in one day. They expect you to be versatile, this lot.
If you'd like to enter the train now, ladies and gentlemen. The dinner is burning. I mean, it's cooking. It's cooking, sorry.
The Etmelin Diner takes passengers for a sumptuous 5-course meal through the forest down to Etmelin, about 5 miles away. And if you think the forest looks good in the daytime, wait until you see it at night.
Sweet, let me dry. There you go. Another song.
What was I saying earlier about the night being for sleeping? Huh. With this magnificent moon, we almost don't need the floodlights on the train. Magic. This is the chef, Frank.
Good.
Frank's been cooking meals in this cramped galley kitchen for years, and he really knows what he's doing.
But I'm just getting the fish ready for the entree.
Oh, yeah, the batter's happening, yeah.
Yes.
One of the kitchen hands just told me out of the blue that etmelyn in Welsh means small furry animal.
As soon as the plates come back.
Had me worried there for a moment.
Start serving the main
We are having fish tonight, though. I checked.
This soup is beautiful, Frank.
Good. Yes, that's been going well for the whole time. We've never changed the soup.
Geez, you're a master. I can't believe this stove. It's beauty.
It's great on a night like tonight. In the summer, it gets pretty hot.
I can imagine. So what do? We fire up one of these big old vents here, do we?
Yes,
Hey?
yes, you open those
Look
up.
at that. Whoa!
It's magic, isn't it?
It'd be pretty messy, all the cinders would come in from the steam train.
That's right. That's why I don't have them open too often. we get a lot of black pepper comes down that way.
So a couple of birthdays tonight.
It's all downhill from here, so they keep telling me.
Is that right? Downhill. Congratulations. Thanks, mate. You're on out.
Okay, there you are.
We're right?
Yes.
Okay, next table.
Excuse me.
And Frank, he can be a bit of a slave driver when he wants to be.
We can't have you standing there doing nothing because we're going to be washing up.
Where are the gloves?
Gloves?
Yes.
Gloves? They didn't have gloves in this day and age.
But it's all in good fun. I think there's as much good humour happening out here in the kitchen as there is in the dining room. It's a big effort, I reckon, to serve 40 people on a moving train like that and not have one unhappy face at the end of the line. I'm impressed.
Keeps us off the street. And this is winter, so you can imagine what it's like in summer.
You're working like a galley slave. You're all volunteers.
That's right. Yeah.
Are we all done?
Yeah.
Everything's locked?
Yeah, all locked up.
Off to the sleeping car?
That's right. Yep.
Looking forward to this bunk tonight, I'll tell you.
Gee, I'm beat. What a night. What a day. I don't mind helping out here and there. Me and my big mouth. Better get some shut-eye quick smart. I've got a feeling I'm going to be in for a big day tomorrow. Good night, everybody.
Oh, magic day. What do they say today? Track work. I wonder which direction we're heading in. Train register book. Yeah, early start, right. Okay. Key to the line. Yeah, got sleepers at etmelyn. It's 9 k's away now.
The work here at Hotham Valley probably gives you some insight into how much effort goes into running a viable tourist railway. It's not easy, but it's also a lot of fun. I'm having the time of my life doing this. And how many people ever get this opportunity? Heading out by myself on this little quad, into the fresh air and the forest for an honest day's work on the line. I can't believe they're ever really short of volunteers in a place like this. As I mentioned earlier, this is Karri and Jarrah country, timber that's known the world over for its toughness and beauty. This is Les, one of Hotham's permanent employees. What a job, eh? Hey, Les.
How are you, Scott?
Oh, that's a top run through the bush.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Magic,
It's really good.
eh?
Yeah, yep.
So, what's happening?
Just got to change a couple of sleepers there.
Yeah. Right, what do you want me to do?
What I would like you to do is go up and get a sleeper for me.
Right, where do I go?
About 3 k's up that way.
Yeah.
There's an old mill site, timber
Right.
yard up there. Just go up the track on your right-hand side and go up and see Peter up there.
Right, Peter, what's he doing up there?
He's a sleeper cutter. He knows all about it.
Once the timber from this country was used mostly for railway sleepers. Not only here in Australia, but in India, Pakistan and America. Not now, though. It's far too precious. In the old days, of course, the sleepers were hewn by hand. I imagine nowadays that the art is long gone. It'll be all chainsaws and the like now.
This looks like the side of the old sawmill. Okay, track up to the right. Here we go. This is it.
Well, how wrong can a bloke be? That wasn't a track I just walked up, but a time warp. At the end of it was this huge mountain of a man cutting sleepers by hand.
You, Peter? Yes? I'm supposed to pick up some sleepers, is this right?
Yep. I'll get some for you in about half an hour.
Just like about everyone else around here, Peter Rado is a man of few words. He's the gentle giant of the Hotham Valley, and it's his job to supply new sleepers for the line, in the old-fashioned way.
Are you still cutting sleepers by hand?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Fair dinkum, this I've got to see.
Peter took over the job from his father, a Yugoslav migrant who came to Australia in 1920. This was his dad's only job for the entire 70 years of his working life.
How long have you been doing this, Peter?
Oh, about... using an axe for about 45, 46 years now.
So what are you doing, getting the shape of the sleeper now?
That's right, Scott, yeah, well... It's to get the rough edge off with this axe I'm using.
Yeah.
And it'll make it easy for the broad axe when I start broad axing.
So how long does it take you to knock out a sleeper?
Oh, I should do one in an hour. You know, just without rushing.
Peter's dad taught him all the skills of the trade over a long apprenticeship.
It's all passed down the line.
Okay.
With a few boots up the backside.
Yeah, really.
The tools of the trade are also precious to a man like Peter, like his magnificent broad axe.
Something you picked up or anything?
No, it was my father's.
Your father's?
Yeah, it's my father's. It's about 75 years old.
Fantastic.
Yeah, he bought it back in the 20s, he did, when he first started. And of course, I kept my eye on it until he gave it to me. I didn't want to leave the family. It was, you know, it was his bread and butter. It made for to last virtually a lifetime.
And it's been sharpened constantly, so...
Yeah, so when it was brand new, it was out to about here somewhere, I think.
Okay, so it's lost about 2 inches or so.
2 inches over, say, 70 years or more. And that's it.
All right.
Okay, Scott. This where good old steak and eggs comes into it.
Yeah?
On that end now. Pick it up. Well, put it over there with that one, that's it.
Yeah, right.
Up you go first. Okay?
Yeah.
Got it?
Wow.
Good on
Weight
you.
in her, isn't there?
Hey.
Goodness me. Gee, I reckon this is going to stay under the rails for a few years. Now look, I'll take this one down.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, righto, Scott. And I'll see you in about half an hour.
I'll come back in a moment for the other one. Oh.
Now all I've got to do is get this down to Les. But first I've got to turn the machine around. They turn on a 5-cent bit, these things. Watch this.
You'd think they thought of reverse.
Now, just to prove that the men of the Etmelin Forest really are the tightest-lipped bunch in the world, watch me try and engage Les in conversation.
Gee, Les, he's an impressive fella, that Peter, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. Yep.
Excellent. So, you're well into it, mate?
Yep.
All right. Cleaning up the hole now?
Yep.
So, how many sleepers can you do in a day?
10.
And how long have you been working with Hotham Valley?
2 years.
So, in the 2 years you've been here, how many sleepers do you reckon you put in all up?
About 4,000.
Now, you're adzing away so that you're getting a little bed for the rail.
Yes.
Sit in so she doesn't move.
Yep.
Don't you ever knock up?
No. Never.
You're fair dinkum, aren't you?
Yeah.
You just keep going.
Yeah, that's right, mate. Got it.
No wonder he can do 10 sleepers a day. Unbelievable.
Yep.
Jeez, I'm getting out of your way.
Why, you safe?
Now, Les wasn't being unfriendly. He's just a busy man with not much time for talking. Guess there's a few people who could learn a thing or two from Les. Anyway, that's the end of my volunteer work here at Hotham Valley. For a complete change of scene, I'm going to jump 994 miles up north to the Pilbara. The Dampier Archipelago is a group of 42 islands that hug the central Pilbara coast. It was named after the English buccaneer William Dampier, who explored and mapped the area way back in 1688. I'm heading for that town down there, Karratha, because there are a couple of special trains I really want to have a look at. Karratha's neighbouring town of Dampier is the location of the rail and port facilities of Hamersley Iron, the giant mining operation up here. Now, this place has the latest in technologically advanced bells and whistles, but there's also a bit of old technology here that's out of its territory and definitely worth a look at.
In amongst all these diesels is a truly extraordinary locomotive. Hamersley Iron's very own Castle class. This is one of the greatest locomotives ever built, and it's the only one outside the UK. Pendennis Castle. 6 foot, 8.5 inch driving wheels. Pure magic.
Second only to the Flying Scotsman, these were the fastest and most technically advanced engines of their day.
The Pendennis Castle was built in 1924 by the Great Western Railway Company in England. Great Western was considered one of the great railway companies in the world, largely because of the excellence of its engineering, its service and craftsmanship, and the speed of its trains.
But hang on, what's a classic loco from the height of the British steam era doing in the West Australian outback? Well, the Pendennis Castle was bought by the company and is under the care of the local train society. She was shipped out here and occasionally they ran her on the track out to Mount Tom Price. Unfortunately, she's not in steam anymore, but it just goes to show that anything's possible in the Australian bush. There's a sort of a cosmic connection here too, I reckon. This was once the most technically advanced loco in the world. To me, it's logical that it's now connected with today's most technically advanced railway.
Different era, same philosophy. I'm driving the heaviest, longest train in the world, pulled by two of the most powerful locomotives ever built. This is the part where it gets a bit difficult. The back of the train, 2.5 kilometres behind me, is still coming up a steep grade, whereas we're actually down the bottom of a dip. So I've got 28,000 tonnes pushing me from behind as it's coming over the rise. Hey, Cole. A few problems, mate. I think I blew it. Can we go again?
Yeah, we can give you another go if you like. A little less power next time, mate. A bit heavy-handed there. And as you
This
can
is
see
a
at the top here,
simulator
the profile
used
of
to
the track.
train the drivers on the most up-to-date railway in the world. And believe me, it's a far cry from opening up the regulator on the Pendennis Castle. All this computerised technology is now a must.
Oh, you got a little while to go yet.
Meet the beast, the mighty Dash 9, the most powerful locomotive ever built. This is as good as it gets for people who want more power. I've been offered a ride out to Mount Tom Price on an empty ore train. It's about 187 miles away from Dampier. We travel at about 50 miles an hour most of the way. It'll still take a good few hours though.
Fantastic. You really get a view of it, don't you?
This is Gary Bruce, the lone driver of the train. He's been driving the Dash 9 since they were introduced. Before that, he drove Alcos, the ones you can see here at Hammersley's graveyard. The Alcos are big enough, but nothing like the Dashes. 2 Dashes can do the work of 3 Alcos any day. And as far as Gary's concerned, there's simply no comparison.
These to me give me more control. I feel like I'm in control better than the old locos. The old locos, you always seem to be at the end of their capability, where with these ones you feel like you're well within their capability.
Running trains this size and weight pushes modern engineering to the limit. Everything must be right for the system to work. The track is constantly checked, shaved and upgraded to cut down friction with the train's wheels and ensure fast, efficient running. The only thing that can really go wrong is the human that's driving it, as I found out on the simulator.
I failed the simulator yesterday. I was halfway over the top of the ridge and I broke my train. What did I do wrong? I mean, can you describe what actually happens?
Well, for you to do that, you would have to probably release the brakes. And when you release the brakes, they release from the locomotive first. And they slowly release all the way back to the train. So if you're going over a crest of a hill and half the train's over one side and the back half's over the other, and the front half released, and the back half still got the brakes on, then the pressure at the peak is too great and it just breaks the train.
Yeah, well, all right, mate. I'll just sit here and drive the microwave then.
But there are some things that even the most modern technology can't prevent.
I've struck a flock of sheep. Well, you just look out and there's just like, I don't know, at a guess 30 sheep, and they're sort of like all over the road, and you blow your whistle and you blow your whistle, and you know what sheep are like. Well, you know, there's nothing I could do. So I just went straight through the whole lot. I don't like doing it, but you can't stop. It's just too heavy, especially on the loaded train.
It takes 1.5 miles to stop a loaded train like this. So anything suddenly appearing on the track is in grave danger of coming off second best against the infamous Dash 9. As we head out through the Hammersley and Chichester ranges towards Mount Tom Price, you can't help marvelling at this extraordinary country.
You don't often see that much water around here.
It's green now because there's been plenty of rain. But sometimes all you can see for miles and miles is red earth and hills that look like they've been pushed up by a giant bulldozer. Talk about a timeless land. Even the mighty Dash 9s and its 1.5 mile train seems dwarfed by this landscape as it makes its caterpillar-like way across the countryside. Fantastic. Mount Tom Price, our destination. Mining has been going on here since 1964. And this area has one of the world's richest deposits of iron ore. Here the ore train is loaded and made ready for its return trip to Dampier. But Tom Price is not quite the end of this railway adventure.
See you, Gary. From the sublime to the ridiculous. Can you believe it? This is my lift that'll take me off the mountain to look around.
What a huge carrier to start me on my way out of the mining area. The boys at Hammersley have suggested I take a look at their local waterhole, Fortescue Falls in the Karrajini National Park. The history of Australian railways hasn't changed that much, really. Years ago, when the country was just being opened up, the rail networks spread out to meet the needs of the miners, the pastoralists and the passengers, and they still are today. I reckon there'll always be a place for a decent railway line. It never ceases to amaze me just what magic spots lay at the end of the line.
The places you get to, all because of trains.